I'm here with my buddy Duncan, and he's a great little dog. He's got quite the personality. And this is Duncan's Roadmap to Success. Now, we were going to actually do this as a dual session. Duncan's guardian just moved in literally as I walked in the door. The moving company is moving stuff in. So if it doesn't look super set up, she's literally been here for about 2 hours. So basically, Duncan has another dog. It's a submissive Chihuahua that's going to live with him. He dominates that dog. Now, he had a bad experience at a dog park. Is it a dog park? And basically had a run-in with another dog, and since then he's been reactive to other dogs. So we wanted to work to make sure that they are having a good dynamic between the two of them. But seeing him just by himself was actually probably helpful because it's pretty clear that he has some insecurities. He is very submissive. You reach over to pet him, he cowers down, or he flips over and gives you his belly. Giving him the belly is like the most submissive posture a dog can. The only thing to be more submissive is to pee on himself, which dogs will actually do. They'll roll over and pee. And so the video above talks about stopping petting him and ways to get him to have his chin up, like petting him under the chin, holding a treat up with one hand like this to get him to look up here, and then petting him. And after a while, he'll get into a habit of having that nose up in the air. And he realizes as soon as I start cowering or flip over, the petting stops. But as soon as I sit and I got my nose in the air, I get petted. We also talked about petting with a purpose, which is a great thing for him. So petting with a purpose is anything your dog is doing when you pet it is what you're rewarding the dog for doing. So he comes up and he jumps up on people or he scratches at them or he paws at them for attention. He's giving us an order. If we follow through and do what he asks us to do, we are validating you are the boss of me. But when we're on a walk and he sees another dog and says, I don't like that dog, and tells this guardian, I don't like that dog, and the guardian doesn't listen to him, that stresses him out. So we have a situation where the dog is getting more and more stressed out. He thinks he's in charge of the human because he tells her what to do at home, and some of the time she does it. But when it's important in his mind, she doesn't listen to him. So that stresses him out. And when we're stressed, we're going to be less likely we're more prone to making mistakes. And pretty much all aggression comes from stress when it comes to dogs. And so removing stress from him is going to go a long ways towards rebuilding his confidence and hopefully eliminating a lot of his reactivity. So one of the things I did to boost his confidence is what I call petting with a purpose. So if he comes up and nudges his guardian, he's telling her to do something. If she does it, she validates that he's in charge. So instead, I want her and the roommate to start giving him a counter order. Tell him to sit. If he's already sitting here, ask him to come and sit on this side of you or ask him to lay down. So either sit or lie down. And if you tell him to sit and he does not sit within 3 seconds of you saying it, get up or pull out your phone and read an email, turn the TV on, do something else. Playing hard to get works great for dating. It works wonderful with dogs too. Show him, if you didn't do what I wanted, I got plenty of other things going on. I don't need to give you my time. I'm giving you my time because I love you and I want to give you my time. But if you can't be bothered to acquiesce, I got other things to do. So after a while, when you tell him to sit, he's going to sit because he knows that you're going to prove to him through doing other things that she's going to do other things. So as soon as he sits, pet him under his chin and say the word sit and only the word sit. Dogs tend to hear the first word that we say most prominently. Most of us talk to dogs in a way where we put the word that's most important in the least important position. Duncan, sit? What a smart dog. Look how well you sat down. Well, I said sat down is not the same command as sit. And I put it at the end of the sentence. So when he sits, pet him on his chin and say sit and only sit once. And also don't say sit, sit. Now we're making it 2 different command words. I'd also like the guardian to come up with a list of the official command words and tape in their fridge and say vocabulary if you or your roommate are using the wrong version of the word. Come here, come here, over here boy, dog's name, dog's nickname. We often assign 10 command expressions for each 1 command action. If he knows 10 commands, but each command has 10 expressions, that means 100 words that he has to listen to out of the 2,000 to 11,000 words we say every day as humans. That's very difficult for him. It makes it more challenging. It makes it more frustrating because he's going to not hear certain words. So if we all consolidate it down to 1 single word and we help each other with a quick reminder of vocabulary, oh, thank you, come instead of come here. It makes it easier for him. Using the single word command when you work with the dog, dogs can learn up to 82% faster. And so it's a great way to accelerate the dog's learning and make it easier and remove a lot of frustration and confusion. So he'd come up and he tells you to sit, nothing happens. But if you tell him to sit and he sits, he gets a reward. So now he has motivation to sit. What will happen after a while is he's going to come start sitting in front of you to prepay for the attention. When he does that, make sure you reach down and pet him under his chin and avoid patting over his head. Since I haven't met Captain, but evidently Captain's a submissive dog as well, so neither dog should ever be patted on top of the head. If all things are equal, I prefer to have you always pet under the chin, but you can scratch his butt too. Just don't ever reach over or pat over his head. So once he complies, we pet him and reward him, and we say the word sit or crash, if that's the word we're going to use. And then after that, we can pet him as much or as little as we want. One pet to infinity. So we have to give him at least one pet because he did something we won't want. Otherwise, he'll go back to scratching or pawing at us. And then we pet him as much as we want. After a while, he's going to realize that the sitting is what they want, and he's going to come start sitting in front of us to prepay for the attention. When he does that, make sure you do recognize and reward him for doing that. Otherwise, he'll go back to the nudging. Now, if you come in the room and you see your roommate is petting one of the dogs and the dog is standing up, you can assume that she's forgotten to pet with a purpose. So I like to use the watchword paycheck. So I say paycheck. The person's petting it, I hear paycheck. If I argue, then that tells the dog, look, David's on one page, Janelle's on another page, Angela, I knew it was an A, is on another page. I can be on my own page. That's how we rock it in this house. But instead, if somebody comes in and says paycheck and I stop petting and say sit, he sits, I pet him under his chin, say sit. Say, actually, I asked him to sit before you came in the room. And when you when you opened the door, he stood up and I continued petting him. But I appreciate you reminding me because I forget. So that way, even if you did it right, make sure you still acquiesce to that because it just gives you another opportunity to practice. And even if you want to pet the dog, still tell him to sit or lay down. And if he doesn't, find something to do. Show him the world does not revolve around him. Withholding your affection and playing hard to get works great for dating. It works equally good for dogs. So after a while, like I said, he'll start prepaying for the attention. Now, passive training is waiting for him to organically offer you the behavior on his own. Every time he comes to you, you should pet him and say, come. Every time he lays down, pet him and say, crash. Every time he takes a drink of water, call it, Chablis, or whatever your favorite drink is. Every time he takes a bite of food, come up with a word for him. And for 3 months, every time he takes his first bite of food, he hears the word Parmesan, whatever it is, pizza. And that way the other dog, when it hears the word pizza, there's no food in its mouth. When he hears pizza, there's food in his mouth. So pizza means I get to go eat. Agua means I get to drink water. If he runs up the stairs, call it, Jefferson's. And he goes down the stairs, call it something else. So if you come up and label all the things, name all of his individual dog toys. So name his dog bed. Name the kennel. I call the kennel Palace or Mansion. Actually, at home, ironically, I have 2 dog beds. I call one of them Venice, and I call the other one Jamaica. And so the way I teach that is I throw a treat on the dog bed. When the dog goes and licks it up, I say the word Jamaica. So when he hears the word Jamaica, he's on the dog bed. So clearly, Jamaica means go to the dog bed and get a reward. The more that he does that, the more he's inclined to do that. Dogs are somewhat programmable. I'll put you over here, buddy, so you can kind of lay down. The more they do things, the more they're inclined to do them. Without getting into the biology, their neural pathways kind of get locked into a pattern or locked together, and it creates a behavior pattern. So the more that we practice rewarding them for desired actions and behaviors through passive training and redirecting them into desired behaviors through petting with a purpose, we're asking the dog to do the things that we want and rewarding them for doing so. After a while, the dogs will do them on their own. I say paycheck if someone I suspect someone's forgot to pet with a purpose. I say testify if somebody is missing an opportunity to reward the dog for passive training. I say vocabulary if you're using a different version of the command word. And I say repeat or rerun if you're saying the command word multiple times. Remember, the more you say it, the less you mean it. So only say it once. We also talked about, we did a focus exercise. I have videos on my website for all this. For the focus exercise, go to doggonproblems.com. We're probably watching it there now. Click on the top where it says dog training tips. And that's where I put all the videos. On the right side on the desktop, on the bottom, if you're looking at your phone, there's a search box. Just type in focus, and there'll be a whole bunch of videos that show how to do the focus exercise. Remember, you want to get the 7-second focus, 15-second focus within 7 days inside the house with no distractions. And I would suggest both dogs learn this. The second stage is to go out in the courtyard or somewhere where you're outside, but not too busy environment, but it's more stimulating than inside. Now we go back to 1 second for each movement. But remember, tell your roommate, the first time she's doing focus, she needs to watch the dog's eyes like a hawk. The instant the dog looks up at you, if you don't raise your nose and go back, it might be 5 minutes before the dog looks at you again. I know you got ants in your pants. We're almost done. And so make sure you're on that. And after a while, the dog just look at you right away. So when you get done with that, then the next stage is to do it on a walk when there are no dogs around and you're walking and there's no reason to. You say focus, he looks up to you. 1 second, 1 second. And work your way up to that 15-second focus for the verbal cue when you're walking. And then if you're walking and he starts getting stiff, his ears go back, his head ducks down, his eyes get wide, he starts breathing heavier, holds his breath, or pulls on the leash behind. He's saying, I'm uncomfortable with whatever we're coming towards. The more that we recognize his body language and get him out of trouble before he feels like he needs to do it himself, the more confidence he has in us as a leader. So I want the guardian to practice, get in a habit of watching and observing him. When you know that he is in a wonderfully happy mood or confident mood, look at his ears, look at his head position, and look at his overall body posture. Is he hunched over? Is he stiff? Or is he relaxed? So after a while, you'll be able to identify this is his relaxed, confident body posture. And then if you see him stiffen up or his ears flip back, and you know that he's in a fearful situation, you know that this is what he does when he's in a fearful situation. Being able to read his body language gives you the ability to get him out of trouble before he feels like he needs to handle it on his own. Now remember, aggression, growl is not aggression. It's the antithesis of aggression. So if he growls, don't ever correct him. Look around in your environment. Oh, there's another dog coming? Well, let's walk down this guy's sidewalk and we'll go sit on a stoop and we'll practice the focus exercise a little bit and let that other dog pass. The more that he sees that you're listening to him, the more confident he has, and less that he feels that he needs to handle it himself. So watch the focus exercise, message me if you can't find it, and I'm happy to send you a link to it. I'd also like the guardian, both guardians really, I would suggest, to teach the dog some new tricks or commands. So like how about wiping your paws? That's something your mom said she wanted you to learn how to do. And that's a great trick you can teach your dog how to do. Just go to YouTube. All these dog trainers want to be Cesar Millan, which you shouldn't because he practices the old way of dog training, the force-based training. We're positive reinforcement. So look for something that's only positive reinforcement and try to teach them a new trick or command once a week. Some of them might be more complicated, might need to go to 2 weeks, but if you teach them to roll over, then before you give them, let them out the door, roll over. Before I pet you, roll over. Before I feed you, roll over. Whatever it is, after a while you just look at him and he's rolling over. And so now you have a new command. And then the next week, teach them a different command. Try to get to that point where they know at least 10 commands. Dogs that reach 10 commands seem to have a certain tipping point after 10 commands where they grow a certain level of confidence. Now, because we have another dog that's coming in that's also insecure, not as insecure or more insecure than him, we got to watch and make sure that he doesn't dominate that dog, because it feels good if you're the insecure one to be a bully for a while because everybody's bullying you. Well, it's still not healthy for the other dog, and it's not really healthy for him either. So the things you're going to look for is him putting his paw on the other dog's back, putting his chin over the other dog's back, staring at the other dog, getting in between the dog and his owner or a guardian, or between the dog and his water bowl or a bone or food or whatever it is. Sometimes we don't even notice those things, but if you see he's blocking the other dog from doing something and you intercede, remember, anything your dog is doing when you pet it is what you're rewarding, but anything your dog does in your presence that you don't specifically disagree with, you're giving that seal of approval to. So if he's dominating at the other dog and nobody says anything, he thinks, yeah, they're cool with me dominating the other dog. And the other dog's like, I'm on my own. So the more that the guardians see, the dogs see the guardians interceding, the more they feel confident in them handling it. And I'm in a more of a subordinate follower role. Okay, what else did we go over? I showed the guardian how to add the special twist. He's wearing a martingale collar. So remember, you keep the D-ring, that's what this is called, on his spine, attach a 4-foot, and I just get a 4-foot, make sure it's a flat leash, not a round one. Just get a plain Jane 4-foot leash at Petco or PetSmart, should be about $10. Attach it here, run it as U, under his chest, behind both front legs. So don't go between the legs, go around. And then always go through this loop towards his head, and never go through the loop there. And don't cross the leash over. And then keep the leash short. And remember those 5 rules for a structured walk. If you forget what they are, you can also search for structured walk on my website. I've got plenty of videos for that. And again, if you can't find it, let me know. Also, remember, if he's reacting, increase the distance, but also start off the walk by doing those 10 treats that I talked to you about. So we go out, we take maybe 3 steps, we stop, tell him to sit. When he sits, we give him a treat and say sit. Then we take up to 5 more steps again, stop, sit. And by the time you get started on the walk, he's like paying attention to you, not paying attention to where he's going, because paying attention to you and looking at my guardian gets me a reward. Now, let me see. I talked a little bit about his belly, not petting him when he shows you his belly in the video above. But anytime he looks insecure or fearful, if you pet him, remember, whatever he's doing is you're going to reward. So if he is fearful, you can lay your hand on him. They do associate touch with affection. But as soon as you start petting him, You put him in an insecure mode. Now, when he is a puppy, his mother would lick him from here along his spine, all the way down to his tail, to soothe him and make him feel comfortable. So what we do in our puppy classes is when dogs are relaxed, like he is now, I pet him from the nape of the neck to the base of his tail in slow strokes and say zen, settle, chillaxin, whatever you want to say. I say settle for my dogs. We're putting in context. He's in a pretty relaxed mode, and I pet him and say, relax. Well, if he's going crazy and I say relax, well, every time he hears relax is when I'm going crazy. Clearly, relax means go crazy. So it's the opposite of what we mean. So the more that when you're sitting on the couch, which is one of the rules he's not allowed to do for a while, but if you're sitting on the floor with him and he's relaxing, instead of saying good boy, pet him and say relax or settle or chill. Now, we went over a number of rules because rules are really important. The more rules we have, the less the dog thinks it's in charge, thinks that we're in charge because it sees us acting like a leader. A lack of rules means you and your dog are peers. And if you're doing your dog are peers, then listening to you is optional. And so it's really important, especially when you have multiple dogs together, they see you as a clear leader. I don't do it by dominating the dog or punishing the dog or screaming at the dog. I create scenarios where if the dog wants something, it has to do something for me to earn it. And if it does what I want, it gets the reward. If it does anything else, nothing happens. I don't punish it, but it doesn't get what it wants. So we're not using the negative, but we are using the positive. And if after a while the dog's like, well, every time I sit down, I get a pet, well, then I'm more inclined to sit. If you get to the point where he's nuzzling for Captain, or he just goes and sniffs Captain, or Captain sniffs his butt and nothing happened, you might want to come up with a word, call it amigos or friends or friendly. So when he's demonstrating good, happy behavior, like mark it, say the word, and then go give him some attention for it. The more that he hears that and has positive experiences, the more inclined he's going to be to do that. Now, I'd like the guardian to, by the time she sees this, probably it'll be already on the website, or by the time she sees it, it'll be on the website, but hopefully she's already done this by then. But I'd like to have the roommate put a trail of treats outside, not on the main street, but on the side street, about every 2 feet apart, and then have about 25 treats, and then have Captain and his guardian sitting there. So when you go meet Captain for the first time, he's already met him, but when they're coming here, first of all, exercise him beforehand. And remember, I showed the guardian, she can use a laser. Yeah, I know, I talk a lot. You can use a laser. Remember, also throwing those treats up and down the stairs. That is a wonderful thing. I think he's not fat, but he could lose a couple pounds, and that's a great way to take off a little weight, is exercising him. Dogs sleep about 17 hours a day. So when they're asleep, they recharge the batteries, and they burn it all off, and they sleep. So all day long, it's kind of like this. So taking him for a 2-hour walk is not as efficient as taking him for 4 half-an-hour walks. But it's not always reasonable for us to do that as well. So going to the stairs and throwing those treats up and down the stairs, I call it a doggy stairmaster. I count each down, up as 1. So show him you have a treat, throw it to the bottom of the stairs. When he goes down there and he licks it up, say Mexico, or whatever the word you want to use. Then call him back, maybe we say Jamaica. And then we call him back up to the top of the stairs, and maybe we call it Queens or New York or something that needs to go up. And count each down, up as 1. Remember, the first time you do it until he looks at you like, you're crazy. I've been down there 93 times. Now you know what his maximum number is, and then you want to exercise him about 50 to 75% of that maximum number 3 to 5 times a day. Now, I'd like the guardian to continue doing the walks and supplement it with a little bit of laser chase or with running the treats up and down the stairs. And also, before you have a guest come over, before you're going to meet another dog, exercising him first, giving him 10 minutes to rest, and then going to meet the dog is going to put him in a much better mood and more amicable. And remember, walking him together with another dog is a wonderful way for him to meet the dog. Just make sure everybody's in line, nobody's in front, nobody's behind, and they don't get to interact. So they both got to have a bonding experience together. Now with Captain and him, if they do get in a fight, I want you to immediately separate them, of course. But then once they're settled down, put them on leashes and take them for a walk around the block together. So the last thing they remember is being together in a positive way. Something else I like to do a lot when we do this in our puppy classes, when we have dogs playing too rambunctiously, is we call it pair treating. So have a treat in this hand and a treat in this hand. And let's say him and Captain, tell him and Captain both to sit. And when they sit, make sure enough space. You want me to get down? How about if you hang out just for a little bit more? I'm going to put you in this position. So tell them to sit. So they're about a foot apart. Sit, and then you give them both a treat, one with each hand. So they're both doing something in unison, kind of a little bit more subordinate. They're doing it to earn a reward, and then you can do it and then have them take a couple steps and sit again. and do a sit again. So they're practicing doing something positive together and having something good happen together. And the more that happens, the more likely they are to become buddies. Let me see what else. Make sure you're eating. Okay. I didn't finish my thing for the walk. So when you meet him, leave the trail of treats. When you get to where the treats are, walk around the block. And parallel walking together, you might have to have a couple paces between you. Just make sure all in this line, you're just horizontally this way apart, not vertically. You don't want to have one dog there or one dog back here. Whoever's in front is going to be the leader. All right, so some of the rules we talked about. Not being allowed on the furniture. Remember, you can get the X mats, the letter X, M-A-T-S. You can get those on Amazon, I know, or on Chewy, and they should be about $11 to $13 a piece. So you get one for each couch cushion, and then I would just close your bedroom door if their clothes are open. You can get them for both, but they're, money's money. You shouldn't be allowed on the couch for about 2.5 months, or as long as the problems are still going on. After that point, on the couch with an invitation only, and only for good behavior. So you invite him up, and he starts growling at Captain. He has to now get down. Don't push him towards where Captain is. That'll probably be a fight. But saying, hey, as soon as you growl, you lose the privilege and the status of being on the couch. Make sure that you're eating yourself before you feed him. All you have to do is eat 5 bites of a cracker or a chip or something like that. Then give him permission to eat, and remember to say his word when he eats his food. I would actually try to feed Captain first and make sure he's at least 10 feet away. Usually they say 7, but Captain's very submissive. And if he's staring at Captain's looking at him and kind of cowering, you might have to move him further away and let Captain eat without being able to see him. But because dogs eat in the order of their rank, I'd like to get Captain to eat first to help facilitate and give him a little bit of authority. Now, it'd be best if both dogs had the same rules. If Captain's allowed on the couch and he's not, that can create a resentment. And so you can always go and huddle and cuddle with your dogs. Get an area rug, set it up in front of the TV, get some pillows, make a pillow fort, and you can hang out with your dog and give your dog as much love and affection as you want on the floor. But then you get to go up to the couch and they can't. That helps the dog see a literal distinction between the two of you. You're kind of protesting a little bit. This is like, I want to get down, he's not letting me, so whatever. This looks much better if I have a cute dog in my lap, especially with this posture. Other rules. Neither dog should be allowed in the kitchen when we're preparing food. When one dog is eating, the other dog should be at least 7 feet away. If one dog has a bully stick or a bone or something like this, and the other dog comes nearby and he growls, it's not aggression. He's saying, back off. You're getting too close to me when I'm getting my swerve on. So make sure that we help the dogs by keeping them apart when that's necessary. And also, sometimes giving them a little bit of time apart can be helpful as well, especially if they're nervous, especially at first. We'd like them to eventually get to the point where they like being buddies and like playing together. I'm hoping we will get there. Remember, they need to have shared activities. So walks together, pair treating, those sort of things can be really helpful. Getting them both bully sticks, them on being on different sides of the room and chewing the bully sticks. Just make sure watch out for the staring and all the rest of that stuff. Okay, the guardian, if there's going to be, I believe eventually there's going to be a dining room table here. So neither dog should be around within 7 feet of the dining room table. Now for the food thing, if they're both waiting over there when you're preparing the food, be careful. I don't want to have him nip at Captain because he's like, you're getting too close, man. I'm going to get the food first. So be wary of that. We'd like to have them together like that, but not at the cost of a fight or something happening. Remember, after a fight, separate them when they're calm, do the focus exercise. When they're calm, take them for a walk together. Let me see. I'm trying to think other rules. If he gets on your bed, it should be with an invitation. Make sure that you make him sit before you let him in or out of the door. If you're in your bedroom, go to the door with the door closed and tell him to sit once. Remember, only say it one time. If he doesn't sit within 3 seconds, jump on your bed, grab your iPad, read a little bit. As soon as he's 1 minute has passed, get up, go back to the door, and command him to sit again one time. And tell him, don't ask him. If he doesn't sit this time, I'll get up on the bed and wait for 2 minutes. Next time I'll walk away for 4 minutes, and then for 8 minutes. I keep double the length of time until when I get on the bed, or when I tell him to sit, boom, that butt hits the ground. And as soon as it does, fly the door open as fast as you can. So that way it teaches him sitting is a great way to get the door open. He'll just start sitting to say, please open the door. And I want you to think of that as a formula. So what I do as a dog psychologist is I try to create a scenario. The dog wants X. Well, in order to achieve X, you're going to have to do something for me, A. So if you want me to pet you, sit, and then I will pet you afterwards. You want to go through the door, you have to sit, and I open the door. or whatever it is. I make dogs sit a lot because it's a more subordinate position. But having the dog feel like it earns that affection, remember, boosts their self-esteem and confidence, and also helps them respect you as an authority figure. So petting with a purpose and passive training seems super duper easy, but they are very powerful if they get done regularly. Trying to think if there's anything else. Is there anything else we want to cover that we talked about?
I think that was it.
It's like I've done this before.
Yeah.
That's about 4,000 dogs. It's amazing. Now, if you do forget or if something stops working, let me know. I'm hoping that when we boost his confidence and he starts seeing his humans as leaders, the aggression goes away. But in a month from now, if you're still having problems, you can't take him to the dog park, you want to work on that, give me a shout and let me know. But if you have questions or things stop working, you hit plateaus, call or text me early. Don't wait. Texting me is the fastest way to reach me, especially these telemarketers nowadays. But I want you to call and text me. It's very ordinary to need to make adjustments. But if I don't hear from you, I assume that means everything's going great. So please blow me up if you're having questions or problems or things stop working. Even if stuff we didn't cover in the session, I most likely have videos I can share with you. Teach the dog to wait at the door even though the door is open. Teach the dog not to go up and down the stairs. And lastly, I'd like you, like I mentioned, teaching the dogs new tricks and commands. One of them I'd like to do, look for commands. One of them I would recommend being the stay or a wait command, either one. They're different. But look for ones that that require self-control. My top puppy class teacher, Taylor, has the dogs, if these are the dog's legs, she puts a treat here and a treat here on the dog's paw, and the dog has to wait for permission. She says right, and then he gets the right one, or left, he gets the left one. And so that's a wonderful way to develop some self-control of him not reacting to other dogs because he's developing self-control, just waiting to eat the treat that's only 2 inches away on his paw. So look for ways to delay gratification, look for ways to make him earn his affection, and always try to put that formula together. If he wants something, make him do something for you first before he gets that. And after a while, he'll start prepaying for that and doing it automatically, but that helps a healthy leader-follower dynamic. I have to ask versus tell. That's pretty much, and look for a dog in the neighborhood that walks next to his guardian, has a medium energy, and try to just start walking together. Most people walk on a pretty regular basis. So if you come home for work at a certain time, you're always seeing somebody with a nice golden or a dog that's walking next to their human and they seem like, amicable dogs. Hey, my dog is a little dog and he just had a bad experience with a big dog. I'm trying to look for good role models. Would you mind if we walk together with you? I'd love to. You get to meet your neighbor, might meet Mr. Wonderful. But you get it, I've had actually one couple, they did actually meet from walking dogs together. They just met somebody in the neighborhood. But the whole point is, again, to build up those positive associations with the dog so he sees other dogs as playthings and positive attributes as opposed to negative. But if he continues, you're having problems, like I said, let me know. There's a lot of things we can do. All right, Duncan. Yeah. Oh, the 4 escalating, I only went through 3 of the escalating consequences. I also have videos for that. So remember, hiss, stand up and turn to face the dog, keep him in front of you until he stops moving, then take 2 steps backwards, pause for 1 second, go back to doing what you're doing. That's the second consequence. Third one is to march towards the dog until he turns sideways. I have a video on that on my website as well. I call it escalating consequences. So just search for that and it'll go over that with you. But look up the 5 rules for a structured walk. Remember, no marking on the walk. You pee before the walk and the end of the walk, but not on the walk, buddy. Sorry, your days of marking in the hood are long gone. Otherwise, he just thinks that he's claiming the whole neighborhood, and that is probably related to his some of his reactivity towards other dogs. All right, well, this is Duncan. It's Friday. It's 7:47. He's going to go downtown to the clubs. He's going to Hollywood to the clubs. Get his dance on. So this is Duncan. And this is Duncan's roadmap to success. Remember, everything you do trains your dog. Only sometimes you mean it.